Good evening, folks, and welcome to the regular select board meeting, November 7th, 2022. I'll open the meeting with the pledge if you'll join me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And again, do we have Joe, Bill? No, I didn't think so. Okay, let me start off by saying it's been a very interesting day. Not actually very much fun, but interesting. And we will have an abbreviated meeting this evening for a number of reasons. I'd like to thank my fellow board members, Joe DiNardo and Sharon Russell, for their notification that they could not be here. Sharon is under the weather and has her husband has an operation scheduled for Wednesday, so she really would like to be in better shape than she is right now. And Joe DiNardo is tied up on actually on a boiler installation with his brother, and things got a little more complicated than anticipated, so Joe couldn't make it this evening. And we understand that, but with an abbreviated board, we will take care of the business that we have to take care of tonight. And I would ask all department heads to keep their reports as brief as possible and leave anything that you can leave for the next meeting to the next meeting. I would appreciate that. The orders have been signed by 3 members, so they're effective and everybody will get paid. We can't approve the select board minutes because we don't have a full quorum to do that. Mary having been absent at the last meeting, so she can't sign, and that leaves Kurt and me, which is a nice couple, but not a majority. So any board members have any announcements they would like to make this evening before we start?
Just that, I don't know if you said it, but I had a work-related reason for not being here.
I did at the
Okay.
last meeting.
Thank you. Yeah,
And welcome back.
thank you.
We have this time on the agenda for anyone who is either on the Zoom call or here at the meeting, who is not on the agenda that would like to address the board on any issue. Do we have any on the Zoom call? This, you'll come up with the, on the other, okay, at the beginning of the meeting. No one on the Zoom call? Bill, I can't. Oh, we have Jim and Barb and Robin, okay. Okay, now we'll go to department head reports, and if the board will forgive me, I'd like to change the agenda a little bit. And it wasn't Bill's fault because we put Howard on the agenda as, you know, as a courtesy invitation of the board to come and just explain his email from last time to make it clearer for board members, and that's fine. But he also has some fire district business that he would like to bring up, and I'd like to do that and shift that to a department head report, since he is a department head, and let him go first. Just out of respect for your age and deference. So if you, yeah, well, we don't like to, you're a little bit older than 65, so we just, and you're working tomorrow, correct?
Yes.
You are working tomorrow.
Here
At the
morning,
polls.
afternoon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Wow.
Good.
Okay.
Welcome, Howard, and thanks for coming this evening. Go ahead and take care of the fire district business first, okay, if you would.
I'm Howard Burgess from the Fire District 1 here in Center Rutland, and I'm here to ask for a letter of endorsement from the select board for a project that we have going on with West Rutland. We've been planning to consolidate our water system with West Rutland. And West Rutland has requested a couple of things, and one of the things they asked for was they wanted a letter of endorsement, basically from the fire department, and you're your appropriate people to do this.
If you would, excuse me, if you would refer in your packet to item H, which is the last item in the packet, you'll see the package of fire district coordination with West Rutland on this water project. Excuse me, Howard, go ahead.
Yeah, and I don't want to go through that whole packet I gave you, but I'll just quickly give you the highlights of what I've got here. You know, this all started several years ago. And I remember coming in and talking to the select board, telling them that we were looking to make some changes and go someplace, and asked the select board if they were interested in taking over the fire district, and the answer was no. And we said, well, then, if that's the case, then we're going to be looking first with West Rutland. They said, go right ahead and good luck. And so that's where we're here. That happened basically a number of years ago. And then after that, the fire district and the West Rutland Select Board made a contract with Otter Creek Engineering to conduct a study, which they did.
At
And
no charge
no, there was some fees to that.
on the sewer. When you did the sewer.
Now, this is the water.
No, but I mean, first you did the sewer.
Well, first we did the sewer, and the sewer was around 2015 when they connected when they built the water and sewer lines from West Rutland. The water line connects to the water main right in front of the fire station. The sewer line connects to our pump station,
Okay.
the fire district pump station. So all of our sewage is pumped to West Rutland. And then we have a connection with this 9-inch water main right to the fire station, and connects into the fire district's 8-inch water mains there. So it's a beautiful setup. And that all went well. Just a quick review of the different systems. You know, West Rutland has two 450 gallon per minute wells. They use one as a backup. The fire district has one well, it's a 60 gallon per minute. And right as of now, we've had to cut back to 34 gallons a minute because the water table, the drought that Vermont was in this year, the water table didn't drop. And similar to 2 years ago, when it dropped, we actually had to put the fire department on a conservation use to cut back on water because it was not good. We don't have a good water system. West Rutland's got 1 million gallons of water. We have a storage tank with 203,000 gallons. The fire district, we have 25 fire hydrants. And this system it was built in 1980, the entire system. So it's in excellent shape. It's been very good. We had a few exciting fires. I'm sure you're all familiar with. Two with Karis Reels. And the main plant burned in 1980 when we had just finished building our system. The tank was full of water. The telemetry system to the tank was not even connected. So we couldn't monitor the water elevation. And Tony Flory kept driving me up to the tank so I could look in the hatch and watch the water go down. And finally I said, that's it. Get off, because they're just draining the tank. That was in 1980. And then they had the second garage fire over here that I don't remember what year that was. Then Rutland Plywood, same thing. We do have a connection with the city. And even with that city connection, it is not adequate. When you have a major fire, the fire department, once we shut them off our tank, then they have to go and draft out of the river because of the city's water mains are 6-inch water mains that come down West Street. They're probably the size of 4-inch. Dave could probably allude to that. And anyways, we just can't get enough water. If we were connected onto West Rutland with that 9-inch main, we shouldn't have to worry about any of this. And that's why it's such an important project. And hopefully it will go through. Then of course, the fourth fire we had was Flory's Motel. That was a little different because it wasn't occupied. But again, connected onto the city. I wasn't around that evening, but when they connected onto the city, they thought they had opened up the valve and everything was fine. And when I got home, well, 10 o'clock that night, and got all my phone messages, I went down to the well and I looked and the tank was like half full and I thought, well, okay. So I went down in the morning, assuming that the water would be overflowing out of the tank because the city was bringing, water was coming from the city. And not much had changed. What had happened was the valve was frozen. The story was the big wrench that the Public Works had in the ground. Two guys got on the wrench and worked and finally popped, said, well, we got it. Turned it some 30 some turns and thought everything was open and it wasn't. But anyways, that's so that was the story of the water. Again, if we were on with West Rutland, I don't think we would have any of those issues. I know the fire department uses a fair amount of water. They fill their tankers. Both stations fill their tankers over here. Fire district, we're made up of volunteers, part-time. It's tough to keep this thing going. We do our repairs by contractors, where West Rutland has a public works department 24/7. We just completed a hydraulic study and we're waiting for the results of it. West Rutland wanted a hydraulic study and they wanted a letter of endorsement. And the hydraulic study has been done for about 3 weeks and we're waiting for Otter Creek Engineering to complete the report. And after that, it'll be voting.
Yeah, okay.
The fire district needs to vote to want to go with West Rutland, and then West Rutland needs to vote to do the same.
When will that take place, Howard?
Well, we're hoping now that we can maybe sneak a vote in like in February. I sent Mark Youngstrom an email this afternoon on a few things. It's a tight schedule. We got the holidays and everything here, and the amount of time you have to warn a meeting, have an informational meeting and everything. So we're thinking probably February. Can't be any later than February. And West Rutland would hold their vote on election day in March. That's what we're hoping for now. We had hoped to have done this way before now, but there's just, things that just had to be taken care of. But so, I mean, this system is really, really important to this whole area here. And West Rutland has the water. They have a fantastic aquifer. They've got the water. They've got water to sell. It's like a win-win situation for them and for us too. But they, in order for them to do this, it's got to be beneficial to them. And they've got the water to sell. During the droughts that we've had, they claim the water table doesn't even hardly move. I mean, they've got a fantastic water system.
Right. They've done a good job over there.
And if this fails, our next option would be the city. I mean, we need, you need to connect down with somebody, and hopefully that won't be the case. But so I'm hoping that I talked with Mary Ann Goulet just last week, and she said, yeah, get the letter. I told her the board's gonna write the letter, and she said, yes, have them write the letter. And
Okay.
do it. So
well, that basically is the situation, right? As you've described.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions of Howard on that particular issue?
Yeah, well, a couple. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a long time coming because I've been talking with you about this for a long time. What are we as a town endorsing?
No, I was gonna bring that up. My intention is if the board is in favor, generally in favor of supporting what the fire district is doing, then we're in a rather unique situation. We can support it for various reasons, but there are 2 municipalities involved and we are not one of them.
That's correct.
So we're not endorsing as a matter of policy or governmental authority. We're simply, if we feel that way, we are simply approving of what the fire district is doing for reasons that benefit the fire district, our fire department, the water supply.
I guess that was my question.
And all of those things. So we can state that. And what I intended to do, Mary, if the board was in favor of what they're proposing, was to draft a letter and submit it for, to the board prior to our next meeting. And then for board comment on that, and then when we get that with either the way it is or with any changes made, then we would submit it. And obviously, it's the subject to board vote, whether you want to submit the letter or not. But I don't think we can, I really don't think we're in a situation, and it's unfortunate, I know. It's unfortunate that members can't be at the meeting, but there's certain pieces of business that just can't wait for whatever. So in this case, we would wait until the next meeting because everybody would get a chance to see the letter, and then we would either take action or not take action. Is that?
Yeah.
Answer your question? I mean,
No,
legally.
I'm still trying to figure out if we're signing because our fire station is on and therefore we're involved that way, or whether there is some other reason, because really we're out of the picture.
It's,
We're not signing anything. All we're doing is giving a letter of that we. As I understand it, Howard, all Mary Ann is interested in, and you are you the chairman of the Prudential Committee? All you two are interested in is that we support a letter saying that we support what you're doing.
I'm not exactly sure where they were coming from, but it was like they were asking for a letter of support, indicating that we have a good water system or something. That I was,
Well, we don't have a great one. That's that's why we want to hook onto West Rutland.
yeah,
right?
but well, they're mostly concerned with our system was built in 1980. I'll accept.
Oh, okay.
Maplewood
Okay.
Park is the only line that's got the original lines in it. Everything else was built in 1980. And this hydraulic test that we just did, that Right Engineering, not Right Engineering.
So here's
Otter Creek-
a question, or
Yeah.
let me, and I don't mean to cut you
No, it's
off.
okay.
Why don't we have Mary Ann Goulet draft the letter she thinks she wants us to sign? And then we'll have a chance to run it by our attorney. Okay, because this is, municipal thing.
I can ask.
No,
her.
I don't think that's appropriate.
What, running something by our attorney?
No, having another town manager from another town draft a letter that represents this board. I think
No,
it's
no,
just,
no, this is something, because I'm still not sure why she feels she needs a letter from us. That's
Well,
what I'm
it's-
trying to figure
It
out.
was a select board member that requested it. That's where it started.
Okay, well, let's,
At least like a format of what they want in that
Yeah.
letter out of us.
Yeah.
Cause,
I think I
Yes,
can
they-
handle it. I really do.
it isn't any ego thing, Don. I'm
No,
just
it's
trying to
not.
figure out why.
It's not an ego thing. It's
Why
just,
they feel they need a letter from a municipality that isn't really involved in the two municipalities that are joining. So that's all. Okay,
I don't know, it's just a letter of support. I would imagine. I would imagine that if we felt, we meaning the board, felt that it was a good idea that the fire district get involved with West Rutland and give the reasons why we felt that way as vis-a-vis as why it benefits residents of the town of Rutland, fire department of the town of Rutland, fire protection in the town of Rutland, water supply in the town of Rutland, that we think they're on a good path to accomplish this. And that's all. That's basically all the letter would say. But then what it says to any powers that be in terms of an election or anything else is that, well, the town, even though it's not a party to this thing, thinks it's a good idea. That's all. And if it outlines the reasons for it, and then the people would have an opportunity to say, well, yeah, let's see, the fire department has an availability of 400 gallons a minute as opposed to 60, and the system is like brand new, and the administration of the system is already in place, and the billing and so forth. And the cost is going to be more reasonable because it's spread amongst more people,
I'm not
all those.
disputing any of those things. And since we have to put it off till next meeting anyway, why don't we just put it off till next meeting? And if somebody provides us with a draft letter, or a couple of people do, good.
I will do that. I'll provide the letter, and it'll be done prior to the meeting so that it can be in the packet and then you can see it.
Would you also please check with our town attorney?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 2. And item 2, basically, Howard, you don't have to say any more because I thought, I thought your letter was very explicit. There were some board members that didn't, and they just wanted clarification on your letter of retirement.
Retirement?
Yeah. So I'll leave it to board. And
Well,
Are you
I'll leave it-
retiring as of December 31st?
Me,
yes.
No, no.
I had, originally, 2 years ago in 2020, I had, my paperwork was in.
Mhm.
I was all set to go. We had, the listers had agreed and we found somebody that we thought would be good for the job. Josh was the chair at that time and Josh was just about organized, called this person into one of the board meetings. He was ready to get going. This was, I don't know, around March or something, because we're gonna try to bring this person in. And I would be working with them. Dean Davis agreed to step aside to let somebody,
okay.
somebody come in. And then, once I retire from being full-time in July 1st, I would still been a lister and I still would have been able to help out and stay on. COVID ruined that. And then the following year I came in with the same proposal again, and then the board turned it down. So that's how it all went. So
Okay. Okay, so so you're retiring as of December 31st.
as of full-time, my
Okay, that's what
term as a
was-
lister
yeah.
goes for another year.
Okay,
So I'm here to see what, I'm not sure what you want to do with things. I can be available, I can be still involved and, however,
okay,
and to keep things going. We don't want this thing to just stop. And the other issue is Dean Davison says, when I leave, he leaves. And we don't want to leave Marcia in a hole here all of a sudden. So we're trying to figure a way to keep things going. I mean, we're right in the middle of a whole lot of stuff.
okay, so I think I understand you are not resigning as lister. You just want to go to part-time beginning January 1st. Okay, so we have no vacancy to fill.
No.
Okay. It kind of takes care of it.
Because
Now,
Marcia.
internally, what you folks
yeah,
do.
my
to
term,
split up
my
the-
term is up. I'm up for reelection in March.
Okay,
And I do plan on running.
okay,
We're in the midst of a brand new statewide Vermont pie system. And it's gonna be challenging for sure. So I just wanted to give Kurt and you, Mary, a little overview of what
okay,
Lister does.
okay.
You don't have to read that tonight, but when you get a chance. And, I know that Howard will be there, for me when I need him. But I also have other resources. I can, use Christie Wright. I can use, PV&R for things that I'm not, sure of. But other than that, I plan on staying and then
Okay.
seeing what the transition will be after that.
So the question isn't, and what I've been struggling with is, do we have to, do we have to and maybe input from you folks, do we talk right now about whether we put on the March ballot a transition to some other system, like hiring an appraiser?
Good luck with that.
That's
Well,
something that.
That's, yeah, I know.
You've got to come up with,
Yeah.
or you got.
That's your decision.
It's, yeah.
But we still have, we're running for reelection. We've still got a full complement of listers, so there's really no vacancy to fill. It's
No.
just managing the internal, who's gonna cover
Right.
what.
And I think you're right, Mary, that, well, I think this gives us the opportunity. And you had it as chairman on the board for as long as you were on the board. It was up there. It still might be up there, called transition planning.
Yeah, yeah.
So now we're in a situation where we are more critical with transition planning, and we've been given the time because
Yes.
Howard is consented. Because I asked him to do that, and I think he wants to do it anyway, to stay on until his term is up. And the reason for that is that we need the extra help. And obviously, there, when December 31st comes, there would be one person in the office. But we need consulting help of some kind, both time-wise and issue-wise with some issues.
And
So-
we should have, I mean, it's built in our budget, the salary for the listers, and so that then becomes either the listers, Marcia takes more time, Dean comes in and takes more time, Howard takes less time, or we use whatever we don't spend on salary to hire somebody in to cover
That's
the
correct.
gaps.
That's
Okay,
correct.
so-
If she needs more help than what is available at state expense, or other consultants that are willing to help out, because when you're a member of the what's the Vermont, what is that? The
Mount Association of
Association of
Listers and Assessors.
Listers and assessors, yeah.
Right.
And that whole group is a network that can be.
Oh, yeah,
run
they're good.
for
It's
experience.
like the town clerks and they have a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
group too, yeah.
But through the transition period, we will know, and they will know, whether or not, or how much paid assistance we need for the
Yep.
next budget year to put in. But I
Actually,
don't,
yeah,
I don't believe we need it for this year, because
well, we're budgeting now for next, but Howard will be on. Marcia's running for reelection, so the question is, when do we start? When do we put the question to the voters? Are we gonna do it this coming March or not yet?
I wouldn't think we'd do it this coming March. I
I think you're right. I think it's a little,
I think it's premature.
Yeah.
But I
Howard, so what was the plan you guys had before with, you said with Dean stepping aside?
In order to bring another new person on board,
Yep.
and we had somebody lined up that was interested, that Dean would step aside, he would resign from his position so this other person could fill it.
Right.
And then
Would he still be willing to do something like that? Do you think, if we were to find another person that would be
I think
interested?
I think, oh yes, I think Dean would.
Right.
He's been, I gotta tell you, Dean is an excellent, outstanding lister. He has done this town a world of good. He's a smart guy. I mean, he knows this stuff inside out, and he's carried us and done so much for us. I can't say enough good about him, to tell you the truth. We've worked together as a team and kind of,
wasn't the problem the person you had coming in not a town resident?
No.
Was that?
it was a town resident.
Oh, okay. Because all we can do is fill a vacancy. We can't recreate a whole system unless we go to the voters and get their permission to do it. So that's why I'm,
Well, that's why. I was
where do
wondering-
we do that?
Well, that's why I was
Where do we do
wondering, if
that
we could find a
discussion?
town resident that wanted to get involved, then it'd save us a headache of having to go through all that.
If you found the right person that wanted to come in and
Mhm.
really take over and get going, I mean,
Well, I think we
I
should start
came in-
there.
I came in 94. Let me tell you this, how it happened with me. I was working at CVPS. Dick Del Bianco called me one day on a Friday. And he needed a report done for the fire district. And I said, well, Dick, I'm considering taking early retirement. And if I do that, I'll have, plenty of free time on my hands. He said, there's an opening in the lister's office. I didn't even know what a lister was. He said, I'm gonna make out a petition and I'm gonna wait here for you. This is on Friday. You have to get the signatures this weekend and turn it in Monday. That's how that happened. I stopped. He said, you can quit. He said, you can change your mind, whatever he said, but go out and get the signatures, get your paperwork in. And that's how it happened. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And then I worked weekends, nights and days and holidays. And when I came in here, the office had been vacant for a year. I mean, a
Oh,
year.
you were doing major catch-up time.
It was more than,
Yeah.
it was all of that.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
really important position because that's the base of all of the money or most of the money we generate for running our government.
There's a lot of training that goes with it. And I know, I should say this, that I know I'm talking to Christie about this. Christie was concerned. I don't know how much training you've had, Marcia, but Christie, so I couldn't vouch for that, but she said Marcia hasn't had the training. I don't know where she was coming from. She's talking about the basic lister training, I think, where, you know, when a new lister comes in, they have training.
Well, I've taken all that,
Did you?
every,
I don't
every
know.
single thing. I've got the
Cri-
packages and all my certificates right in my drawer.
Well, Christie said that, it came from her, so that's all
Mm.
I know, because I said, well, I don't.
Well, no, anything that NIMRIC or PVNR has offered, I have taken. The only thing I haven't taken is that first step in the IAAO. I haven't done any of those, and those are needed to become an assessor. And I won't be able to do that because you've got, there's a plan there. You take your first level and then you have to work for 2 to 3 years before you can take the second level. And it's another 2 to 3 years and so forth and so on until you take all of those.
Okay.
But
So you don't plan to transition until you're 95?
I don't know.
Probably not.
Well,
Lucky if I make it through. the
Oh,
3
darn.
years.
There went all of our supplemental income.
do you have any sense between the two of you and knowing what Dean puts in as well, how many hours a week that it takes
He
to
only
run that
puts in
office?
two
Talking
two
about-
timesheets a year, one every
About
6
Dean?
months.
No, collectively, how many hours a week does it take to run the lister's office?
Well, depends on the
It's a-
time of the year.
Well, there's that, but if you can, because we gotta.
Well,
yeah.
I'm doing 25 to 30 a
Okay.
week now.
Okay,
Which is more than what we originally allocated, Mary. And as a matter of fact, we never intended this to be more than a part-time position, but
Well-
it's required it. So you got to do what you got to do
You
to
gotta
do the
do it.
job.
and Howard, how many hours for you? Like right now, so we can get a
I'm around 30 some
Okay.
hours a week.
30 to 37?
Well, yeah, yeah.
30 something, I think.
Oh, okay, and where's Dean?
Something,
Yeah, 30 something. That's a
Yeah.
That's a
30
term.
something.
What's your age?
The average
And how many hours roughly for Dean?
for Dean. That's a tough guess. I mean, he really comes in
Yeah,
starting in February when we start doing all the field work, all the assessing. And he's with us through grievance, and if there's, you know, all of that, it's hard to tell. I mean, we,
Well, Susan can
Text.
probably get.
yeah,
that.
we can
I
get
just have to
we
look
can
at
get
it.
that
I
from
don't-
Kari because she's got the.
All right.
timesheet.
yeah, we don't have to do it tonight. I'm just trying
Yeah.
to get a feel for how many hours it takes to run in there so that we know, when Marcia taps out and Howard's back at part-time, do we go to Dean? And if he doesn't have the time, it sounds like we do have to bring in somebody to help. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. So, yeah, that would be really good to know.
you really gotta be thinking long-term here too.
I
Where-
agree.
That's why I said 2 years ago, we were thinking that way. We said, what are we gonna do? Because I said, okay, it's time for me to start thinking about this. That's why I planned, like 2 years ago, I planned to retire.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't think you can let this go. You need to start thinking of just what it is you might want to do. Of all the
I've started talking with folks in other towns who have done this and trying to get a handle on what works, and I don't know. It's just, and all I've gotten is, yeah, you gotta kind of make it fit your towns, so.
Yeah, well, I've had a conversation with Christie about it, and
Mhm.
believe me, it's when we do that, it's going to be at least as much of a struggle, if not more than a struggle, than Kari is having right now, even filling a part-time position in that office.
Yeah, I don't
It's
disagree.
unbelievable because, well, they're not available and in addition to all of this discussion, the board should be considering the fact that we are very, very imminently in receipt of a letter of reappraisal from the state because they're getting ready to send them out.
CLA,
Correct.
how far off are we?
Well,
That's up to,
we're okay at the moment. We're slipping. We are slipping out. The whole state is in a mess and
Yeah.
really,
Yeah,
the state, it's too bad they can't make an adjustment across the state to at least bring everybody somewhere within reason, but to go out and do a reappraisal now and then end up having it not work and then go through it another 5 years from now, the appraisals are the appraisers are gonna be making all the money because
yeah.
it's an expensive process and there's very few appraisers today that are available. It's,
But so my question, sorry, this is a bit off track, but if we're gonna get that letter, and I have no doubt that we are, do we need to start put in the budget?
no,
No.
Reappraisal money yet?
we have money in there. There's eight, I think it's $8 per parcel. How many parcels do we have, Howard? Roughly, I
21.
mean,
it's somewhere around 2,000 for a rough number.
1,000 parcels, we get $8 a parcel per year.
Okay,
and it's in
so
a
it's
trust.
been building up.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
in a money market. That we
Okay.
have that money for reappraisal. However, Christie indicated to me, and she pretty much has a handle on what's going on at the top state levels in this area. They're not going to give reprieves on whether it needs to be done or not, but they are going to give reprieves on the amount of time.
Okay,
that it
good,
takes.
good.
Because the usual grace period when you have to do a reappraisal is 3 years.
Okay,
And they're gonna have to extend that because there just aren't enough firms to do it in
and
3
it
years.
sounds like most towns are gonna be in the same boat.
Yes,
Oh, it's a
a
mess.
lot of
Terrible.
times. A lot of
And
them.
by the time with the market changing and the interest rates going up, it could flip back by the time they
Right.
get to us.
The
That's
market's
right.
dropping now
Yeah.
too. It's going
Yeah.
back down again. and
Okay.
hopefully-
Yeah,
Yeah.
so a lot of things to think about.
Mhm.
But what I would suggest, Mary, in reference to your concerns about the budget is that you two got to get together and jointly do the budget for this next year. I mean, that would be appropriate since you're not going to be here for the whole year. You're going to go on part-time. Why don't you get together and figure out what that budget is so that we have, especially in terms of payroll and hours. And anything else in the office, equipment, the office equipment and so
Well,
forth.
Bill has already said that my computer system is due to be upgraded this year or
Right.
this coming year.
Okay, but I mean, I'm just saying. For our planning purposes, because we've got to do the budget and your budget is part of our general budget and I'm scheduling meetings now and I want to get this thing underway. So if you guys could meet and do that, we'd appreciate it to get a budget amount on your budget items, Howard, for as soon as you can. Hopefully for the next meeting. Think you can?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any other?
I'll get something from Gail Gantic to our business personal property
Mhm.
consultant, so.
And I
Yes,
think anything
please, yeah.
further on personnel would be probably the subject of an executive session since it deals with personnel matters, so.
Mm.
Any salary negotiations or things like that,
Oh,
that's not,
well. We're starting
we-
with
well,
asking for the budget, so
right.
that should be helpful.
Right.
That's really what.
plus
we
we
need.
don't have a full board and.
Yep.
I don't like doing that kind of stuff, a full board. Howard,
Well, I just would like to say, again, I am retiring from the full-time
Okay.
and I know Marcia's gonna need me.
Mhm.
I know there's things that are gonna come up. I do a lot with Kari and the rest of them. And I don't need to be here, believe me. If I left, I'd be fine with it. I don't need to be here. And I can be available to keep things going and I can be on call, but if I'm going to be under those circumstances, I think I ought to be compensated for it. So I'm gonna be expecting, I know I'm gonna be called
Mhm.
for stuff. I know it.
you'll be on speed dial.
That's a speed dial, all right? But anyways, I just want to let you know this, that
Okay,
that's where I'm coming from.
okay. You're still a lister.
And I don't mind, I'm still a lister and I don't mind, again, being on call and being there for whatever comes up. kind of way I function now. I have my cell phone, I get calls no matter where I am and so forth, and I can do this. The month of January, I'm not supposed to work at all
Right, right. Okay,
and get paid. I can't work here and get paid for
okay,
anything
right.
in
I
January.
think previous town clerks have been through that and others have, so I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
Nobody in this town, nobody on this board expects anybody to work without pay, so. That's
Well, I
appropriate.
do, but I look for volunteer lawyers all the time,
Well,
so
good.
I do.
You want to give me a list of them in case I need some? And I may. Yeah, no,
Okay.
that's appropriate.
Message
Howard.
received.
We all sat here? You got any other
Is
questions?
anything going to hit in January, Marcia, that we should be concerned about getting somebody lined up?
No,
Okay,
no, I can do I can lodge the grand list,
okay.
final. And
When,
then
lodge it when?
in January. Before January 15th.
Oh, that's just
Yeah.
that's just something that basically, yeah, that Kari should do. I mean, that's an update on the 411. Any changes that been made in the grand list
Mhm.
from when we, finish grievances and things. So
Oh,
yeah,
gotcha.
that's
Okay.
just a simple step.
Yeah.
Just a,
Okay,
And then in February is when really the work starts. That's when I start working with Gail Gantic to get our depreciation schedules going and get the forms out to all our business and personal property people. She will be coming in this year. We have some new businesses that we would really like to meet face to face.
okay.
They're great businesses, and I can honestly say we've got some businesses that just refuse to report.
But that reminds me, is there a minimum that we set so that if you're a business and you have
No.
inventory, say under $1,000, we don't bother with it?
No.
Is that
'cause
something
you'd have to decrease every single business by that amount.
that would require a vote of the town
Okay,
to do something like that.
So what we basically do is we come in for an
Board
abatement
of
hearing
Abatement, yeah.
on those
oh, I've
small
seen those.
amounts.
I've
You've
seen those
it
small
come in.
amounts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just.
I was just wondering, because I was asked by one of the
Just
people
wipe
I
them
was
off.
talking with. They have done that in other towns. They've knocked the inventory down to, well, even $5,000. Anything below that, they don't go after. And I said, is that depreciated? And yes, depreciated, but not down to zero, only down to 10%. So
Well.
just but that's, I'll leave that recommend to you folks if we ever get there. So,
This town has been very, very fortunate that we kept the personal property and inventory tax when a lot of towns were doing away with it. Because they said, well, it's inconsequential. It's definitely not inconsequential to this town for a number of reasons and a number of businesses. But it brings in a considerable amount of money to the town of Rutland, so in aggregate.
But taxes are taxes, and no matter how big or how small they are, everybody should have to pay them. So I mean, you just can't just drop somebody, throw it aside. You're not supposed to.
Even at 21 cents per hundred, we're still making money.
Yeah. And what's the city?
$1.80 something. Maybe not that high. Yeah, right around that.
Yeah.
Imagine GE having to pay.
No, and they can't either. Any other questions of Howard or Marcia?
okay, thank you. So
Yep,
you're
thank
still
you.
a lister, you just don't, you're dropping off full time, you're gonna take retirement and then you'll come back.
We'll figure something out. Like I said,
Okay,
I'm
but
still
you're
here.
still a lister. Right, so we don't find
We
a
don't need to
replacement
fill
for
any
you.
positions.
Gotcha.
Good.
Okay,
Okay, thank you, folks.
you're welcome.
And have a nice election tomorrow.
Mm.
Two of our stalwart ballot clerks. Okay. I guess I neglected in the announcement section to offer a an agency apology for our police department. Our chief is not here. And our constables are not here. And the reason that they're not is that they are presently on what's called in the law enforcement community, they're on an agency assisting the Rutland City Police and the VSP, Vermont State Police, on an investigation which is taking place on the corner of Cleveland Avenue and State Street. There was a shooting involving a vehicle and a death occurred at that scene, and the entire of State Street from Pine to Pierpoint Avenue has been blocked off, and our whole department, our active department, the ones that were on duty are there assisting the city. So they will not be giving reports this evening, nor will JP as constable or in his other capacities. So that being the case, I'd like to would go to Kari Clark, town clerk, because she is she's got a lot of work to do in an election tomorrow. So I wanted to kind of get her out of here if we could as soon as possible. And of course, everybody else, but if you could somebody could just grab Kari and tell her thank you, Jim.
No report. Moving
I
on.
can hear it.
She said no report.
Well, Kari, I'm reporting that she has nothing to report.
We heard her too.
Yeah, we heard her.
In not in her usual tone, but in the deeper voice of Jim Schultz, Kari Clark reports that there is nothing to report this evening on her behalf. So that's it. We will go to Barbara Noyes Pulling, who I see is on our Zoom call. No, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Barb.
Okay.
It's my eyes, my aging eyes, because Mike Roseman's sitting here very patiently. Actually, he's been shaded by Dave. So Mike, you're up.
Napping, actually.
Napping.
Thanks for letting me-
He didn't have Eddie next to him to
I didn't ready to wake me up.
the kibitz.
Real quick,
Evening, Mike.
evening. All the parks, the water's off. They're all buttoned up. Thanks to Bill, I think we're just about all set with Wi-Fi. In all of our parks, they did the little tunneling and trenching at Northwood. And so when they get that wired up, we'll have our Wi-Fi and our hotspots, and that'll be really good for our customers and our patrons next spring when we kind of get going. So thank you to Bill for all that work and getting all that done. That's truly appreciated. So thank you. Halloween party was a huge success. Bill was there. We had Aaron Audette and a guest, and they played for, I don't know, hour plus, and that was just great out back. The 8th grade did a fantastic job of designing and running. I mean, next year I'll probably bring a clicker, but we were between 300 and 400 people. I ran
Beautiful.
out of candy.
Oh,
I didn't
no.
run. I had enough for the evening, but there was none left for you. I apologize.
Oh, no.
So you can go steal it from the ladies across the hall. They have a little secret stash, but you didn't hear that from me. Other than that, I believe the senior holiday dinner is going to be at school, so I'm kind of out of that. And that's great. They're going to do it at school. They wanted to do it at school and have the kids, and the band will be there. So you'll be at school. I think it's the 20th of December for some strange reason. I think because I'm in the emails, but I think it's right around there. So if you're asking about that, because I will be gone,
Mhm.
I'll attend Zoom from here until the beginning of the new year.
We can have a meal delivered to you too.
I'm good. I think I'll be okay, but thank you for, I'm not quite, I guess I'm senior. I have my AARP card, so I guess I'm classified as a senior. What is the age, by the way, to be a senior in this?
AARP is
55.
55.
55?
Yeah.
So am I classified as a senior that I'm 56 years old?
Yes, you are.
Yes, I'm classified as a senior then.
And with a limp that would make
Well,
you
no
even,
longer after a week from today. So other than that, I don't really have basketballs underway. And there shouldn't be any ripples. I've kind of tried to tighten everything up so that everything is taken care of. Any questions you might have with me?
no, just a hearty thank you again for your timely submission of your budget and also keeping it level funded, and also thanking the transfer station for keeping theirs and the police department for keeping theirs. So we're on a good track, and I
Pressure to the
hope
general then.
you're setting a
the
good-
general, so you better be careful.
you're
You
setting
guys are
a
the
good
general.
precedent for, yeah, well,
Look at Dave sitting back there like the Cheshire cat. He's like,
Yeah,
it's in
yes.
mine."
you know.
Just kidding. That's all I got.
Well, he's got the big plows, and even though they have names on them, they'll still
That's right.
clear anybody out of the way.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
We do have a question. Townwide celebration for next year.
sure. Looking at the calendar, it's probably the best to do it. My recommendation is to do the same format, the last day of the pool, which looking at the calendar would be the 26th of August, which would be that Saturday, and then we close on that Sunday, and then school starts that following whatever, Wednesday, or so 3 days later. So that would be ideal
Okay.
to have that then. So if you wanted to get going, I mean, you could toy around with the idea of the 4th of July, but I think your volunteer part are probably going to be enjoying themselves. And I don't know, I really liked how the last one worked out because everyone's either all done with vacation, it's still beautiful out, and it worked really well. Just, I would probably defer to that date.
Yep.
But that's up to you folks.
No, I think you're right, Mike. I think it worked fine.
Do we want to set it now or wait until the other two folks are in? Because we don't have to do it
No,
tonight.
I think we
do it-
can set it. If it's, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't set it. It's,
Fine, man.
it was great. It was a great
Yeah.
culmination,
It
really.
just might help in our long range planning of who's gonna be what and where, and it might
Yep.
allow us to add a few, having pushed that out so that people can lock that on their calendar.
Okay.
So,
So. I think
If
our
you're good with
townwide
that.
celebration committee, the two of us who are on it. Saturday, August 26th, 2023.
we got a new grill too, so that'll work.
New
out
grill. Thank
Really
you very
nice.
much.
Yeah, that'll
Ooh,
be sweet.
Fancy.
Cook them
grill.
burgers right up.
Fancy.
All right, that's
Wow.
all I got.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, thanks.
Good luck with your surgery and recovery.
Hey, have a great holiday too.
Thank you, you too.
Better get in. I heard it better in the morning, so I better be first one on the table.
Started drinking by then.
Now, Barb, good evening. You're up.
Now,
Now.
okay. Good evening. Like to start off with the Pocket Park and have an update there from GMP. They're further along with their relicensing process. And it looks like they will probably take the Pocket Park out of that to simplify things and get their license redone. But they strongly say they're still interested in working with the town on the Pocket Park and, land transfer or whatever it turns out to be. So we're setting up, trying to set up a meeting with them and whoever else would like to be involved with that process on the town side to keep those talks going.
I would, Barb.
This
Thank-
is with Green
Okay.
Mountain Power?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate. Anyone have any objection to that? Okay, Mary, you're on.
All right, we have a little, see, this whole thing came up because they are going for relicensing. As part of their license, they do have to address public use of the area. So we thought that was a nice little hook to get them involved.
Mhm.
So it's going to need to be a very careful conversation, I think, just to make sure before we consent that they can take that out of their license application, that they are intending to proceed along with the pieces that we've been talking about for quite a while. So,
Yeah, the reasoning for taking it out is that it will avoid regulatory burdens and hurdles at this point in the process. So I think, I'm not sure whose idea that was, GMP or the federal government, but that's where they stand right now. But they keep reiterating, they want to move ahead with the pocket park. They still want to do the pocket park, whether it's part of that permit, or that relicensing or not.
okay.
So is this the FERC permit that you're
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Or, yeah, okay. The, well, good. Do you have any idea of the timing of that, Barbara?
well, I asked them just to wait until after election day. So maybe as soon as next week, might be able to set something up.
Okay. Good. Well, let us know, keep us informed.
Yeah, will do. And, if you ever need any information on grants that are coming up that might be applicable, just ask me. Sometimes there's annual rounds and sometimes there's rounds that happen 3 or 4 times a year. So we can keep tabs on that if we want to go that route. Just want to throw that out.
okay.
Okay.
Next thing, the permit tracking ordinance that we sent your way, and we've also run it by Kevin Brown, I think you have as well. He wasn't crazy about the questionnaire that the town planning commission wanted to include with that.
We weren't either.
Right, okay. So the planning commission voted at its last meeting that that they can remove that. There's no issue if that goes by the wayside.
Okay, we're talking about item F in the packet. And it's just as convenient as not to take it up since we're talking about it. If you look at F, it's got a big town seal on it. It's called Draft Town Ordinance, Permit Tracking Ordinance.
Mhm.
And I do intend to bring it up for a vote tonight. We've bounced this thing along long enough. And the only questions that I heard any board member have at the last time we talked about it was that form, and that form is no longer here, so I don't see any reason why we can't approve it.
I know Sharon had some questions about it, I know.
Yeah, and I did say something too about it that was not just about the form, so. Why don't can we defer this to when and I know Joey had some questions. One thing I will say, I had reservations about not exempting agricultural use. Because ag use is exempt from Act 250 and and I have to be careful about, I was incorrect on what I said. It isn't entirely exempt from zoning, but the zoning requirements are limited as to what effect it has. And I used that and I said, this is tougher on ag than zoning ordinance would be. I did see a section of the statute that said this reporting requirement is perfectly okay for ag use. So we can have ag users report what they are doing if they add run-in sheds or hoop houses, or which is what happened down on my farm. It's appropriate to ask for this information. So I do have several little notes and questions about revisions. They're not major, but I guess that do I get them to you? Who's running with this anyway? Is it Bill or the Planning Commission or?
The planning commission's pretty much handed it over to the select board, so I guess
Okay,
Bill.
gotcha. Okay, so
So you're comfortable with this document the way it is right now, Barbara, correct?
Yes, yep, the planning commission has
Okay.
vetted that. And we had Kevin vet it.
okay.
Well,
Well, let me tell you what
okay,
Okay.
I'd like to hear
So
your concerns.
page number 2 in
Right.
the draft ordinance. Okay. Okay, Town of Rutland or is designated that establishes the proposed construction project. The way you've defined building and structure, it also applies to not just construction, but installation. So I think you should add the word or installation project.
Where is that?
Very
Which
top,
line?
very top. It is the second line at the top of the page.
39?
Correct. Construction or
which is-
installation. Okay. Then going down to line 49, and I raised the question about structure versus building because I took a case to the Supreme Court on the very difference between the two. So I'm conscious that you have to be careful with these. There is right now an assembly of materials for occupancy or use, including but not limited to a building, mobile home, or trailer or swimming pool. So then I have questions about greenhouses, signs, sheds, and even fencing that encloses an area and contains animals. It's not covered, but it is an enclosure. So are those things examples of what are structures?
Is that covered by the words but not limited to?
Well, that is, they may be, but here's the question, Don. Do you expect people will come in before they put up fencing in town? And that's where it's not terribly clear. You're including swimming pool. So that's why I'm raising these questions. Next one is line 61 and 62.
Well, let's pursue that a little further. How would we solve that problem? By putting all included uses instead of saying but not limited to? Are we then,
Honestly, I think but limited to makes it that the town can go and say
whatever it is?
anything. Really, that but not limited to line shouldn't even be in there. You need to specify what is going to require a permit if you're gonna have this. Because otherwise the town can say, oh, well, you planted shrubs over there. That's, not limited to. You need a permit for that. So you gotta spell out everything in this. If you're gonna go this route, honestly, I hate this ordinance and I could do away with this ordinance in my eyes, but I've never been a fan of this ordinance since it came to
know.
fruition. But if you're gonna have it, you need to spell out specifically what you need a permit for. I mean, there's a thing about awnings in here, which I find is weird. You need a permit to put an awning on your deck. Like, so some of this is a little out of hand in my eyes.
I guess, yeah, I guess the very first phrase really describes what it is. An assembly of materials for occupancy or use. So
What do they call a use though?
a use, what?
So I enclose my goats in fencing and it's more than 10 by 10. I have to get a permit. I mean, in theory, I enclose my goats. It's practice, not so much, but I'm just saying, you need to know how.
How zoning documents get
Well,
along.
as I understand this whole ordinance, it isn't that you got to get a permit to do it. It's
That's
that you
correct.
got to get a permit to let the people that are
Right.
responsible for listing the values of things, so they know what it is.
But you still have to go through the permit process. So
Right.
That
that's-
requires a document with this many pages saying that you need to notify a lister that you put the building up.
Yeah, I guess.
Well,
So I've only got two other things, so I may as well go to them.
Yeah.
Line 61 and 62, an informational permit is required for the alteration of an existing building or structure that results in an increase in the number of bedrooms. I understand that related to buildings. I got that. it doesn't really apply to other things. I just thought it was an odd add-on. I guess, again. the
Barbara,
list-
could you tell us why you link that particular language to bedrooms as opposed to fixtures? Because the way the state looks at it, or the way the listers look at it in terms of valuation, is related to the fixtures.
Mm.
Like the plumbing fixtures, the number of toilets and sinks and so forth,
'Cause-
obviously because of septic.
Septic,
No, septic's by bedrooms.
yeah, that's probably why too.
Septic systems are designed by bedroom.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
Oh, yeah.
what you're saying is correct. I don't know the origins. We didn't really change that much
Yeah.
of what was in the ordinance. So that's been, a lot of that stuff has been on the books
Mhm.
for decades. And not sure of the rationale for all of it.
It's a way of it's a way of the town being notified if somebody's adding bedrooms and there needs to be a change in septic permit. Is
That's
what that
correct.
And
is.
valuation in the house.
That's
too.
correct, because the septic permits are issued based on the number of bedrooms.
Mhm. That's what that line's there for.
All right, that was more of a question. It just seemed like an odd add-on. But the last thing I have is at the top of page 3. This was the same change I made at the beginning. Page line 75, this form to be completed by the owners of all prospective construction or installation projects. And those are my changes. But we haven't exactly resolved the structure issue and how broad it is.
No, and we can do that. So I guess what we'll do is we'll hold this off until we have a full board meeting and others can look at it.
Yeah.
Should I- Okay. In your court, Barbara, again?
Okay, yep, and since we're having so much fun with that, we thought the planning commission thought that they would take a whack at the subdivision ordinance. We're pretty much overhauling that. It was last tweaked, or maybe even initially adopted. It hasn't been touched since 1980.
Wow.
That's a while ago.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
the same one that I used when I was on the planning commission.
Probably. And, it
Um,
needs, we need to refer to the stormwater ordinance in there. And, there's a number of things that always kind of catch us up a little bit because of the language or such. So we are putting a full court press on to go through that thoroughly.
Barbara, Dana had reached out to me because I had mentioned I had a couple of things in the subdivision ordinance that I could. So should I come before the full planning commission or just get with Dana?
Yeah, why don't you get with Dana, because we're tackling this meeting in a series of meetings, like a half hour, 45 minutes each meeting. And
Okay.
then we drop it and take other things up and continue the following meeting. So Dana is shepherding that. So that would be great if you could contact
Okay,
him.
I will, thanks.
So yeah, those are all the ordinance related things right now. And the energy survey is still out there. I'm gonna get it in the Rutland Town School newsletter, the next one. Trying to get it back into Front Porch Forum. I'm not quite sure I know the trick of getting something repeated from an earlier publication to another one, but I'll figure
I think you
that out.
just put it in. I don't think you need to worry that it's a repeat. You just put it in.
Oh, okay, so yeah, they didn't take it the second time, so I'll just keep trying.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and we've got 38 responses so far. So we'll have the cards publicizing it out at both polling places tomorrow.
It's like pulling hen's teeth to get people to respond to surveys.
Yogi Berra, that's a mixed metaphor.
Nothing wrong with that, Mary. But
It's like
yeah,
deja vu all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're doing a good job of trying to get them, so you can't be faulted for not giving them a chance, that's for sure. What else you got?
that's it. That is it, unless
Okay.
you have any questions.
Questions from the board?
Thanks, Barbara.
Okay,
Barb.
thank you.
Have a nice evening. Have a nice voting day.
Okay, you too.
Okay. Chris is not on because he is at a monthly meeting of the fire department that Bill should be at because he's one of our volunteer firemen who should be you. You want to leave, Bill, you can. I mean, seriously. You know, we don't,
So it's okay.
no, okay,
I guess I have to go over, so
okay.
appreciate it.
All right, Dave Sears, our town road commissioner, you're up next, Dave. Good evening and welcome.
We got East Pittsford Road paved after we got the culverts in. We let it sit for about a week and let them beat it up and listen to everybody complain about it. Another day in the life, I guess. So we got those paved up. A lot of thumbs up and smiles when we did that, and it was only a week, so. We did get the plow edge from Rick the other day, so we're all set there. We actually have a spare at this point. Speaking of plowing, we went out, spent some time verifying some routes. We changed some things around. And then we went out and got some mileage on some different routes. Just in case we have to have Hubbard's cover a street for us or something. So I know so we spent some time doing that, and like I said, we changed having them pick up a couple other things that just kind of makes sense. So we spent a little bit of time kind of working on that. The Thursday after our last board meeting, I went to the Traffic Advisory Council. Not really a lot to report there. It was the end of their fiscal year, beginning of the new fiscal year. So it was basically a report on what they had accomplished last year and what they kind of plan on for the upcoming year. As you know, Devin moved up to the head of the planning commission. So they have a new guy, Ethan Pepin, kind of took his spot. He's a young guy.
Devin Neary.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they got Ethan Pepin took Devin's spot, and I'm pretty sure the shoes I'm wearing are older than him, but that doesn't mean he's any less competent. I'm getting old, I guess. That's just what it boils down to. Like, wow.
That's almost as old as Yogi Berra as well.
Almost. I did a Zoom call with the Rutland Town School bus drivers. They do a meeting the last Monday of every month. And it was just kind of a meet and greet. Gave them begrudgingly, I gave them my phone numbers and said if they come across anything, because I mean they're on all these streets all the time that we're not on. So it was actually a pretty decent meeting. It was short and sweet and to the point, and it was a nice place to touch down on. And in the meantime, we've been kind of reorganizing our sand and gravel piles and everything, because it was kind of a mishmash of everything kind of stuffed together, and we kind of sorted it out and having it make sense, and moving some culverts around and kind of getting cleaned up and getting ready for winter. Tomorrow, Mr. Peppin actually was looking for a place to hold a foreman's meeting, and he reached out and asked if we would be willing to host. So tomorrow from noon to 2, I believe they said they got 14 or 15 different towns that are going to show up at the highway garage and do their little foreman meeting, and that'd be where I am.
Okay, I understand you had a highway committee meeting and
We did.
Joe is not here, so. But Mary was there, so. She being another board member, I'll just let you report on it.
Yeah, well, it was mostly speaking about the budget. Dave had drafted it with an eye towards something we had been talking about for a number of years, and that is transitioning, and this is a full board discussion question, transitioning toward a increase in staff so that the town, plowing would be done by town employees and not by contract folks, which means we would be increasing the number of employees and also gradually adding equipment, plow trucks to be able to handle that. This appears to be a good time to be discussing that. This is something that Byron had talked about several years in the past. And with the dropping of one of our contractors through his choice, then we are facing decision time now. So the budget you're going to see from the highway department is going to show an additional full-time employee proposed, a part-time contract position to do some of the additional roadside mowing in the summer, and a proposed purchase or lease. I don't think we've completely figured out which it is, a purchase or lease of a new highway truck. More to come. And just, I know some of the board members have talked about level funding. I am less sure that this is an appropriate year to talk about level funding. But so that we will lead to that more when we get into our budget discussions later.
Right.
Right.
I am more and more convinced every day that we need level funding, but we'll get into that discussion when we have our general budget meetings. There is, however, some solution. And where is it, Bill? And which item in the packet are we talking about here? I've kind of forgotten it. It's the
Solution
draft
four.
purchasing policy,
That's a.
and that is if you would take that, it'd be a good time to take it up now. If you will look at Bill made some changes and they're in black, as you can see. But there's an additional change that's not on your copies. And it is in the last. Oh, wait a minute here. It is in the third line of black. Thereby increasing its overvalue, establishing new infrastructure. Or capabilities, and then add at the end of that third line after capabilities or the purchase of new assets. And this, well, I hate to say this because Mary, having been in the legislature, will know that it has a kind of a dual meaning, but it really is a housekeeping measure. Because our auditor has found and mentioned in at least 2 reports that we're not specific enough as to what the capital improvement fund can be used for. And so to be more specific, we put or the purchase of new assets. Because obviously, if you're purchasing something new, it's a capital expenditure. And it isn't always just a building. In this case, it would be a truck. Because the truck is not replacing anything. The truck is being added to the fleet. So it would be a capital expenditure. And that tracks as well with the depreciation fund, because then it being a capital asset, it is then subject to replacement at some future date by the depreciation fund. So,
Was that? Well, that answers one of my questions maybe, and that is, have we asked the auditor? Have we run this exact language by the auditor to see?
no, this is what he suggested.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Including what you just added there, the purchase of new assets. And that's just for capital improvements.
Right.
It's not for depreciation funds. Because frankly, I think we have a little wiggle room the way I've read the depreciation fund
Right.
language.
No, it would just, no. The answer to your question is no, it doesn't involve the depreciation funds, but any of the assets that would be purchased under this capital improvement fund would be subject to replacement by the depreciation fund.
Yeah, no, I understand that down the road. So when we set up the capital, do we have the language from when we set up the capital fund? Oh, it isn't hard to find because it was in the year that we voted on it, dealing with the surplus. Okay, and I found it before, so it won't take long to find it, but let's, I'll try and find that and send it to you. Since we're missing 2 select board members, and this is, relating to fairly significant policy change, I suggest we put this off until the next meeting. I don't think we need to deal with it. We're not going to be buying a highway truck tonight anyway, so.
No. Yeah, I'm for that.
Okay.
No, but I do have an aversion to continuing to put off things, because members aren't here. And I like to be courteous, but God darn it, we've got to accomplish business. And if you don't like not being able to vote on something, then you be here. I mean, we're into a budget session and we got a ton of stuff ahead of us. And people always complain about this meetings go too long. It's
This is a-
because we keep loading stuff up that we don't deal with.
This is a big swing though, Don.
I don't
'cause
think this is a
capital-
big swing. at
This
all.
capital improvement fund in the past, correct me if I'm wrong, has always been directed towards buildings. So to change it to assets now, so we can go out and buy whatever we want out of that is a big deal. And I
We can't
think,
buy whatever we want.
yeah, we can. You're saying assets.
Yeah, but buying candy bars for the, for the community
Yes,
park
but
is
it's
not
not
an
it's,
asset.
well, it's not, yeah, but buying a plow truck's not fixing a building either.
No, but capital expenditures are by definition not just buildings. I mean, if you ask anybody in business, ask Jim what a capital expenditure is over at Omea. It's
Yeah,
not
but
just buildings.
What does it say on the ballot when we created it?
That's what. I've got to,
Because if it said,
Didn't, and that's exactly why the auditor recommends that you put this in there. Because we've been doing this. We have been doing this without having defined it. So now all we're doing is defining it so that what we're doing then becomes legal,
I want to see a photo.
totally legal.
I want to see a photocopy of what it said on the ballot.
shouldn't be hard.
Yeah.
It's just the town report from that year and then
Yep.
it was voted, so.
Yeah.
I found it, I've got a stack of town reports.
I
I'll
wanna
see
see
if
a
I can.
And
find
I
it.
might also mention, and I hate to get critical about this, but I may also mention that the reason that we have a packet and it's sent out is so that people can read it and they can have questions on it beforehand and be prepared to vote when it comes to meeting time. Now, I understand we have 2 members missing, but the reason we have a packet is so that that's preparedness.
Yeah, and that's why I went through and I had the questions on the purchasing policy.
Yep.
And I had the questions on our proposed amendment. I know that there have been some decisions made without going through the committee process that we used to have. So I'm going to bring my concerns up here at this meeting because this is the meeting that is warned and it is before the public, so we can discuss these things, not anything back room, back door. So I'm raising these things now. And as far as people not being available, it's rare that we're down to select board members. And I think it is a courtesy that should be extended when that happens. Sharon's sick and Joey's tied up doing work. I was tied up 2 meetings ago. That will happen, but it isn't a common occurrence.
Well, I'll be fine with that, but the last thing I want to hear is any criticism from people about how long these meetings go. And that's what I'll say to end this conversation. We can postpone anything you want to postpone, but it's got to be dealt with. And, you know, I won't say any more about it.
Well,
I think we're.
you're saying
I
more
think we're
about it.
being excessively
You're saying more about it.
discretionary when we
Saying
should
more
be,
about it.
we be doing business, and doing business means voting on issues, not continually discussing.
Oh, no, it also means discussing them with the people who are involved, and that means getting good information. And I'm missing the committee system. I got to tell you, Don, I think just by having one person in charge of one department, you don't have the debate, you don't flesh out the issues. And other select board members don't know what's going on.
That's not true.
Oh, it is true.
Pretty true.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm not going to be voting for any 40% increase in the highway budget when there's other ways around it that we can use funds available so that that does not happen.
And we'll talk about that at the
I'm
next
not going to
meeting.
put the highway, I'm not going to put the new highway commissioner in the position of having to defend an outrageous increase when capital funds are available and other means are available to keep the budget in line with level funding,
And
because that's
we're
what I'm looking
Going to
for.
research that so we have better answers for the next meeting. That's what we're going to take a look at. And level funding in a year where fuel prices are going up and we want to put, I think you were talking about a, 8% salary increase? You can't, you got to be realistic about how you make all of that happen. And I'm not sure you can.
Well,
Don.
I am being realistic. That's why I suggested we use a capital fund for the truck instead of taking it out of highway budget.
And we'll.
That's
and
very realistic
we
and
will
it's practical and it
inform the
also
other
works.
2 select board members when they're here. And when they see the new language that you just proposed tonight, it's only fair to them to know about that. So,
So therefore,
Honestly, Don, if I was in charge of the highway department, I would take the F-350 and replace it with a new single axle truck, and then you can get your roads plowed.
well, yeah,
Buying another 1 ton is not going to solve your issues.
if we were all king for a day, we could do whatever we wanted to do, but the buck stops there.
Well,
no, it stops with us.
yeah.
No, because the highway commissioner ought to have a little bit of discretion as to how he runs his department. And also, well, he also ought to have quite a bit more discretion as to how much of an increase he would like to propose to the board, that the board proposed to the people of Rutland Town in his first year as commissioner. So in any case. would
Well, he
take-
made some great proposals and thank you for that, for a really good budget presentation to the highway committee, which I did sit in on. So that was helpful.
Where are we here on the agenda? Nice. You got anything else, Dave?
That's all I got.
The, have you thought about paving, Quarter Line?
I have, but we have East Pittsford Road on the list for this year, and that's gonna take pretty much everything that we have budgeted. So the state paving grant stuff comes out in, I think they said January or February. So they're gonna apply for that, and if we get something, then I would definitely consider doing Quarter Line, because
That's a pretty sizable construction project.
it's gonna be.
There's no road base under that.
I know. So I'd like to do it. I don't know that this coming year is the year to do it. And I gotta really take a look at it. I mean,
Yeah, there's some sections that need to be straightened and quite a bit of work that needs to be done there. I
Can
remember
that be
from
done, can
when I
that be
graded it.
done piecemeal in,
Yeah, I graded that before.
what is it, about 2 miles?
I don't even think
I
it's
think-
that
no,
mile.
I think between that and Boardman Hill, I think I saw somewhere it's like 1.43 miles.
Yeah.
Between that Quarter Line piece and that little piece of Boardman Hill. It's like
Can it,
not
can it
quite a
be
mile and a
sectioned
half.
off so that we could do it, we wouldn't have to do it all in 1 year?
Yeah, quarter line you kind of have to do in 1 year.
I haven't really looked at, I mean, I know there's some stuff that needs to happen by those first 3 houses. The road is just kind of an amalgamation of several different materials all kind of laid in there, trying to make a road out of something. One of the driveways got like a 10-inch drop into it because they've just been adding material to it over time. And so it's gonna be, you can't just go in and pave it, I guess. It's gonna have to be a project.
Okay.
And quite honestly, we're with this post road sidewalk that we're gonna do this coming spring. I don't see us getting into a full-scale project on Quarter Line.
Okay. That answers my question. Okay,
Right,
thank you, Dave. Ed Dumas is occupied, Mike Delehanty is occupied, JP is occupied. Bill, you're up.
Good evening.
Hey, Bill.
Good evening.
Right. So. We can, you want to keep going through the items in the packet?
Yeah, we should.
No problem. So, several of them relate back to new business topics. So do you want to just take them in order or? do you have a preference? Okay. So we covered A. B is the draft policy. This kind of covers depreciated assets. So we don't have a way of, we don't have a set way of handling, we don't have a policy on it. And this is something that the auditor has brought up. This is something we brought up at the last meeting. So I just started looking up some definitions and some best practices, and I put this together. So this was an attempt to start a conversation. I'm not opposed to any changes on it, but just something to at least give us some guidelines. So when we start making some of these decisions, and there's a path to what we want to do with some of these things, because it just seems to be more helpful and it eliminates some issues down the road.
Okay, well, I guess this falls under the same category, is you gotta take a look at it, and all 5 members gotta take a look at it, and then we gotta have a discussion and hopefully come to a decision.
Okay.
But that won't be tonight. So
Do you want my 2 comments now or? would you-
sure,
Absolutely. Yeah, there's,
Okay,
put them on there as they
Yeah,
come
yeah.
up.
what's actually more, first, you gotta correct the word asset in the top line.
Oops.
The
yeah.
depreciation fund is gonna tie into our discussion on the other, under definitions.
Yes.
Okay. Under disposal of asset, I don't have a problem with the idea. I had a question about whether that we should put a number in there, an amount, so the department head has discretion up to a certain amount and put the number in, and then anything over that goes to the select board for approval.
Sure.
Okay, that
Yeah,
would be my
That could be
suggestion.
helpful, yep.
And then down under C, age, the obsolescence may be assigned to a reserve status at the discretion of the department head, the select board. Same kind of thing in there. Up to what value does it fall with the department head's discretion? And then back to the select board
So
when
I-
it's over that amount.
So I thought about that. and
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about that exact topic and trying to like come up with a way to place a value on that item.
A depreciated asset.
Right, I mean,
Yeah,
that was a challenging thing. So like Mike Rowe has a lawnmower, we have a fire truck. How do you come up with
Yeah.
a system that evaluates that? So I did think about that. So that's why I said, well, it goes. So, it's just.
So I caught it.
It's no, but it's a perfectly
Yeah.
reasonable idea. I just didn't know how we want to do that because say it's $500, but the fire truck is $10,000, the mower is $500. Like,
Yeah.
it seemed
Well,
like
I'm not challenging you to find the solution. I'm just saying that's
Okay.
something we'll all want
Okay.
to talk about. Probably.
okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't find one. And the depreciation.
When does it
funds-
go from the sublime to the ridiculous is the question.
Well, I think the select board is charged with major purchases
Yeah.
and major, decisions to hang on to equipment. And there's some point at which department heads have that discretion. We probably should know to give guidance to our department heads where that line is. That's why I raised it. I don't think it's ridiculous, Don.
No, I don't think it is either. I think that's what Bill is saying is we've got to decide which number is sublime and which number is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So do
Because
you,
you got so much discretion between items and
so do you tie it to depreciated value or do you tie it to the value of its replacement?
Excellent question.
So if it's, say a $7,000 lawnmower, maybe we don't get involved in the depreciated asset of that, but if it's a $500,000 fire truck, maybe we get involved in, maybe we write, maybe we use it off the replacement value.
It probably would be better than doing it off the depreciation because depreciation can go down to 0. So we don't want to do that. We want to have like a 10%.
And
Yeah.
use values can be subjective.
Yes, when I
So-
started writing that language, I'm like, no, this is,
no.
yeah.
it was almost more complicated to put it in than it was to not.
Well, it might just be as simple
and
as
they will
saying,
get
look, if it's-
ridiculously low, obviously, because
If-
that's the whole purpose of depreciation.
Yeah.
if it's, something that you're looking to sell or hang on to and it's worth maybe $2,000, up to that amount's department heads.
Yeah.
If it's over that, it should go to the select board.
Right.
I mean, it could be that
It
simple.
could be, yes.
Oh.
And for the depreciation funds, I had found on the purchasing policy, that last page, I had found the police, the latest rec and the transfer station language. But I
Oh, yeah.
gotta find some historical records for the fire department and highway. So those will get added once I'm able to come up with them.
And I'll help you with the.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
that is the language that is the ballot language for those depreciation accounts.
Good. That was helpful. Thank you.
So that was, so when I find the other two, those other two are the there for placeholder. So, this was just something, I went and looked at different policies that I could find in different language to come up with this. So, yeah, I mean, I think adding those things would be useful for sure. But this way it just kind of helps to make things a little more efficient as we go along, and it also helps for planning down the road. So,
This is why I said, I mean, it isn't just the capital account, it's also depreciation, because if you read the language, it does relate to purchase.
Mhm.
And it doesn't say it has to be a replacement vehicle or a replacement something. So it's broader than perhaps what we thought.
well, I mean, on the depreciated asset or the purchasing policy?
Well, we call it, no, I was looking at the schedule, the
Oh, the
way the
schedule.
voters actually voted on
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So that's why I was trying to bring it all
That's good.
together.
Thank you.
And it was a good first attempt at putting it together, at least give us a place to work from. All right, the next item, C in your packet and C under new business is a proposal from Repro Graphics for the printing of the town report. They have a 1-year option or a 2-year option. They've been doing it since I've been here and they have done a wonderful job. So
Yeah.
my preference would be to go for 2 years. It just gives us a little bit of a savings. The current cost either way is more than what we've budgeted for. And in talking with our contact, Mary Dearborn, she said the cost of paper has gone up 60% since we signed our last contract with them. So I did ask if there was longer than 2 years, but no. So it just reflects the current market. So we will end up going over it unless we order less copies. So this is reflective of the reduction that we did last year. So I pulled a box out of the order last year and I just opened the last new box. So I think that number works pretty well. I don't think we're gonna run out. We got a whole
Okay.
box to go through and there's quite a few in there. So
But you wouldn't want to short us another.
I don't,
five.
yeah, well, I mean, we'd have like 5 on the table out there and that'd be it.
And
So.
we've got half a fiscal year to get through and town meeting coming up when people
Yeah.
like to look back.
Yeah, so
yeah,
when
and
the last tax payment, we went through a lot of them on the desk,
Yeah,
but we have them out there. So I think this number is a good number, but in looking at years past, we have a healthy supply of Old Town reports downstairs from the last several years. So
did well to reduce it.
yeah,
last
so
year.
that's the only other way to do it, and I don't think that's really the best way to go. And the other thing is, if the number of pages is reduced, that also will affect it because it's per page each. It will reduce our cost. So, my recommendation would be the 2-year contract, and they also have done 2 years in a row now the mailing for us. So we email them our mailing list.
So much easier.
They print it. We write them a check for postage, which comes out of the postage line in the budget, and that's the last we see of it. And that was the first couple of
Yeah.
years was a monumentally large and laborious task to get that thing labeled and out. And now we write a check. And
So I would move that we approve the contract with Repro for 1,425 copies, and we go with the 2-year option at the price of $61.50 per year. And we authorize Don to sign on behalf of the board.
I'll second.
I'm assuming there will be no disagreement by the other 2 board members with this motion.
I don't know how they could.
Motion's been made and seconded. You heard the motion. I can't ask if there's any opposition because we're all here. And the chair will vote yes, and so.
the original is in the folder.
Pardon me?
The original is in that folder.
Okay.
So
Very good.
I, all right,
The other 2 don't like it. They can sit there with the photocopier.
I do have,
Start
when we
making
get
'em.
closer, I do have someone who is volunteering to help do some proofing of the town report.
Sure,
Yeah,
that'd be great.
yeah.
And this year, if we are not having we had a meeting here,
Oh.
which messed up, which made the schedule a whole lot more difficult. And I forget why we had to do it here last year, but yeah. Anyway,
What are we talking about again?
we had to do the town report. We usually have a meeting at the school.
Mhm.
There was some cycle that got changed last year, and I forget why. But we had to do because I set up all the tables in here for the town report, and I usually have 2 or 3 weeks to do it. And because of the planning commission, your meeting had like 3 days, so it'd be great if that doesn't happen again. So, but we'll see. Well, that's neither here nor there. So when we send this to them, they send me back a schedule, and here's our timeline and due dates and all that stuff. So we'll have that after we send that to them. So that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we used to meet
Well, there used to be a town
We used to
report
meet
committee.
prior to the town meeting. We had a meeting in the conference room up there at the
Yeah,
school.
And there used to be a town report committee, but they just got in the way. So now I do it. It's fine. It's much more efficient. I mean, it's just the layout. I mean, it's just really I take table of contents from the last year and I start going through it but that's where we have another topic on here to get to without, that's where that'll come in handy. So the next item in the packet is letter D, which is also D under new business. And that is the Rutland Regional Emergency Management Committee voting member appointment. And last year you appointed Marty Wasserman and myself, and we are both good with being reappointed. And so that,
I move that we reappoint Marty Wasserman and Bill Sweet as our delegates to the Rutland Regional Emergency Management Committee, and that we authorize Don Chaffee to sign as chair.
Second.
You heard the motion. Any discussion?
Aye.
And all those in favor? Aye, the chair votes yes.
and the originals in the folder.
Oh, well, you don't want this one signed then.
Helpful when you use that one.
Okay. Go on to your next one.
All right. Letter E in your packet is the draft policy for signs on town-owned land. And along with that is the state guidance on signs, like will be in rights of way and things like that. So when we've discussed this in the past, this has kind of come from various conversations. There's a couple things would need to get filled in under special limitations, decide the number of days, but the intent would be when someone comes and puts in their petition for office, they would get a copy of our policy, a copy of the state guidance, and here you go. This is how you can do your signs.
I would recommend that the special limitations section have 2 days prior and 2 days following election. And those are at the town school and municipal town hall. That gives people that have won an election and might have partied a little bit heavier the night before, it gives them an extra day to get their signs down.
Sorry.
Or if they've had a pity party and they're really crying bloody murder, that will give them another day.
I don't think most candidates do that, frankly.
Oh,
Um,
either one?
the,
The rest of it looks good to me.
well, we did have a committee once upon a time. You were on it, Don, and so
Yeah,
was Jeff
I was.
Cologne. Did you guys ever meet? Because we wanted to coordinate with the school. And I guess my question is, have we, because their policy on school land could be different than the policy on town land, which is why we wanted the two entities to have reps and come up with something.
Yeah,
I guess we thought we would sign this, and if they had any objection, they would tell us.
I also don't know about the Cheney Hill Cemetery. I don't
What's
know.
that?
The Pinnacle Ridge Road across from Valco, that'd be the Cheney Hill Cemetery. I don't know if the cemetery commissioners would approve of signage there or not.
Oh, yeah.
I'd have to run that past the other two. See what their thoughts are.
And I frankly think 2 days prior to the election, is that what you were proposing? Is too short. I don't have a
For
problem.
here and the school specifically.
Yeah.
Oh, those are only for
Usually
those two places.
usually they show up the night before. All the signs usually just magically appear the night before. So
I'd still go longer. But
what this is for.
I don't know. I just think we ought to do it.
the last time before you were on the committee, I got together with my Republican counterpart and we came up with what we thought was a pretty good proposal. And we got totally shot down by our political committees. So I'm not even gonna,
Not even gonna venture a guess as to whether this would be approved or not.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just think it would be better that those in charge, which, this leaves discretion to the polling official. And as a matter of fact, state law leaves a lot of discretion to the polling official, the head polling official, which would be the town clerk. In that case, I just think I think it's better to have something that they can refer to as opposed to saying, well, we don't really have a policy. Well, then what do you do?
Oh, no, I
If we
think
have this,
this-
and to your concern, Kurt, I mean, I've never ever seen a sign there, so
yeah, I know. I just want to run it.
nobody's going to appeal to the dead people in the cemetery.
Yeah. Well, maybe we just scratch that one off.
We could also add it, but since it's town owned, we could add something that says signs are excluded from this property.
Yeah.
We could do that too, and that would be
Where did the template from this come from?
VLCT.
They got everything, don't they?
They do got a lot
Yeah,
of stuff.
not everything.
They do.
Appreciate
that,
asset
Kurt?
policy, that's
They
mine.
got just about everything.
They have a
don't
lot.
They do, they certainly do.
Nice if it was
Yeah.
easier to search for them, but they do have quite a few.
I know, I would like to see the cemetery exempted. I know people haven't put anything there that I can remember, but try to keep that as a unpolitical type place. I know we do.
I don't have a problem with taking it off there.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
and I certainly wouldn't vote to add it either, so.
No,
I can put under. Well, I can, so what I can do, because on the list town on property, and then we can put it like something like exempted or something like that, and then put an explanation down below.
Well,
This
could I
is-
just cross it out on this copy and then you can print up another one and.
Yeah,
put
that's
it
fine,
in
just.
Yeah.
That doesn't have it.
I got it.
yeah,
If
that's fine.
everyone's comfortable with the rest of it, then fine.
I'm gonna vote no, because I do think the school needs to be involved, because it will affect their polling place, the polling place at the school as well.
Wasn't
So you can either do that.
Sharon gonna take this to the school?
Sharon
Think-
is the new rep to the school.
Yeah,
So,
you should probably do that before we.
so if we're gonna vote tonight, I'll vote a no, so you might not want to vote tonight.
Yeah.
Might not. There's no need to.
This is for the March election anyway.
Yes, we got till January kind of to
Yeah.
get it
Yeah.
down, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
that way
So.
we don't bump against any
Okay.
policies. the
Okay,
school
we got
does.
another tabled one right
problem.
here. And then
That's
it goes
easy.
in the table pile.
Okay.
As soon as it gets high
Well,
enough that it topples
Dawn,
over,
if
then.
you and Jeff had met 2 years ago, it would be done.
Well, hey, these things take time.
Apparently.
All right, so the
It
next.
wasn't ripe.
The next item in the packet is G. And that is
Yeah.
the peddler, solicitor, and transient merchant ordinance. You voted to
Got
adopt it.
Mhm.
So there's a copy in the folder, just because I put the date in and I updated everything on there. So that's just to get everybody's signatures on it. It will take effect. Sunday is
Okay.
its 60th day. So that in Dawn in the pink folder is the copy for everyone to just sign. You've already voted to approve it, so it's just putting your signatures on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's made it through without any challenges.
For this one.
So it's all set.
There's a peddler down at Green Mountain Plaza, I think it's Hungry Hog.
Yes,
Did he get a permit? Okay, thank you.
thank you. I appreciate that. I do pay close attention to social media because a lot of places start advertising stuff when I go find them. The genesis of this particular work was the vendor craft fair at
Yes.
Folsom's Plaza.
Yes.
I think we ended up with somewhere around 20 or so applications that we did, and we got them all done, and it went fairly well. It was a
Okay,
bit of a
yeah.
process, but we got it done.
Thank you for doing that.
They were very happy, and I had to make her give me a cutoff date because they started trickling in. I'm like, no.
Yeah,
So
Fair enough.
yeah, no, we got it done, and but this is helpful because this gives us a little more flexibility in the fees and schedule. And so now I'm gonna go and update the form to
Mhm.
reflect some of these things. I'll probably work on that tomorrow. And that's that. So that's good. So I'll get just put it back in the folder. It's fine. The next item in the packet for everything is just a copy of the general budget sheets. I just got the transfer station numbers from Larry, so those are not in there yet. And like at 5 o'clock, I got an email from Andres about stormwater.
Oh. Hmm.
So if you want to save that for the budget meeting, that's fine. I've got two numbers. I've got a project, like here's the cost for him for the year, and then here's the cost with if we get the grants we need with our matching costs involved. So I have two numbers from him.
Could I make a suggestion on the budget sheets as you print them and send them around?
Mhm.
Put the date that you send them out at the top,
Yeah,
because we end up having so many.
I know.
Yeah.
I go through them too. So
Okay, thanks.
yeah, that's fine. I could put
Yeah, we put November 8th on that,
on what?
on this one.
Oh, that one. Yeah. Well, and so I've gotten a few since then. Like I said, I just Dell gave me, said based on your conversation, I got the ones from him, which some changed, some didn't change, but didn't sound like anything was unexpected, just what it was.
Yeah.
The constables who we were hoping to get here tonight, they're a big part of it. They need to fill theirs in. So, and I have all of rec, I have all of highway. I do not have fire or police yet. But sounds like we're getting closer on those. So, almost ready for a full set. We're getting close. So hopefully I can get those from the other department heads and we'll be in good shape. That is everything I have from the packet. And then a couple other topics. Dave and I met with one of the state AOT VTrans people about the Town Line Road culvert, but we were missing the last two invoices from Otter Creek Engineering, which you just approved. So once those checks are written and I get a copy of the check, then I'm going to bring it up to them, and we will get our grant reimbursement paperwork submitted to get our money back. So that's really close. We received our check from VLCT for the safety grant for our reimbursement for Dave's cameras and the police, different things. So those accounts in the orders, those accounts are being credited back with what we spent, what we got approved, what we spent, we got credit, are credited back for those. I got a call this afternoon from the owner of the Eco Car Wash project, and he was just calling just to update us. Act 250, he said apparently did the notice wrong, so they had to renotice the project, which set him back. So he's waiting for them. He's had some challenges at the building, which he is doing his best to address. The new building has been ordered, so it's made from reclaimed battleships. So it goes through a whole process where they build his building out of reclaimed battleships and other recycled materials, so it's legitimately a recycled building. So so he's waiting for that. They are going to, they've had some issues with people breaking in. So he is going to be soon installing one of the camera systems like Hannaford has. I don't know if you've seen the parking lot down there.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to show up there shortly.
Yeah.
He's already got a contractor approved and ready to go to tear the building down, but Act 250 won't let him do it until he's got his permit. So he's waiting for that.
There
to
was
go.
also a little sliver of land issue. I talked with the attorney for them today on
Okay.
something else, and he happened to mention that, but
I-
it's all related to 250, and I think
Okay.
it'll all be
They
sorted
are
out.
working through that. That is also that one of the 3 acre properties, and he knows that for the stormwater. So their intention actually is to eliminate parking lot area to get them under that rule. So they're already working to redo that. So it was a very good conversation. It was great to get in touch with him. So now I have his like actual direct phone number instead of just the project contractor. So it is absolutely still moving forward. And he is just waiting for the Act 250 process to work its way through it. I asked him, I don't have the permit number. Do you have the permit number, Mary, for them? I couldn't find it. He didn't have it right off, but he's gonna email me their permit so we can keep.
I'll
track
have
of
to
it.
know, it starts 1RO.
Yeah,
something.
I couldn't. Yeah.
That's all I can.
It's been on here about 4 times because they've had 4 different pieces of correspondence for it.
Okay, I looked through mine and I didn't see anything on it. So
You can go
it's
on
fine.
the Act 250 website and it's
I tried,
pending.
I couldn't.
Really?
I tried a few different things I couldn't find. So it's okay. We'll get there. But so it is still
I know why, because it's under the mall. It's an amendment to the original mall permit
Really?
because that
Okay.
parcel was part of that. That's why you're
Okay.
not finding it. Yeah,
that one I know.
yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That makes easier then. So okay. And so equal car wash. And like I said, I got the letter from Andres. We can talk about the budget, what we want to do with that. And I will, you said you wanted to see the subdivision of ordinance that they're working on.
Dana and I are gonna chat about my changes, my
Okay, well,
suggested changes.
I will give you a copy because
Okay.
anything you have is nothing like what they have. So before you
Okay.
leave, then I'll give you a
Fair
copy.
enough.
It's very colorful and it's
Want the application number?
sure.
It's 1R0572-6.
Thank you. That we just keep track of their progress. So, but he's very nice and he's ready to go. He wants to do something. He wants to do something and he can't do anything. So, that is everything that I have.
Bang.
Oh, fireworks.
Well, fireworks, yeah. So during it, we were talking about the general budget and the proposal from North Star is like $15,000 now for this year, which doubles their budget in a very short period of time. So Don and I called a town resident who does fireworks and he is interested in being our vendor. So he's gonna get back to us
Okay.
with his proposal, see if he can do it. So we should know that pretty soon. So yeah, that would be exciting to.
Do we reach out to any of the towns just in case this one doesn't work? out?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think we've heard back many.
I
We've a
reached
couple of
out
them.
to, well, actually, the
In the city too.
city, well, the Fair Association reached out to me
Mhm.
and Robert and I had a really nice conversation, but we both kind of agreed that our venue was sacrosanct to each of us. And, but we left it open. I said, well, and I had a conversation with the chairman of Endon's board, and he was gonna get back to me when he brought it up to his board, what they wanted to do.
Okay.
But this proposal here,
Well, if it
I'm
works.
telling you,
And that would be at Northwood.
Yes.
Yeah, be at Northwood, and for, he's already said that for 7,500, he could do, well, what did he say? He said for 7,500, I could give you a performance that's 10 times better than what North
Yeah,
Star did.
that's-
Well, we won't hold them to the.
That was the total, so we'll see. We'll see.
Anyways, he has a class 1. And which is the same class as Mr. What's his name in Pittsford, or our good friend here, Chuck Greeno. So, and those are very common. I mean, and they're good fireworks, but they're closer to the ground, level 1 or class 1. He has a class 3 application pending, which is pretty close, and he may very well have it by the time 4th of July comes. But if he doesn't get it, he said he has a friend that he works with that has a class 3 that he can work with in conjunction so that we can actually have class 3, which is what North Star has.
Which is what we're used to.
So
we asked
before
him
we
about
sign
cost.
any contract, that needs to be in it.
Yes. We're, yes,
Okay,
When we asked
we
him
do have a little
about,
bit of time, so.
yeah. we
yeah,
do.
yeah, when we asked him about cost, well, I don't want to get into that, no. But anyways, this is a win-win situation to have, and apparently he's pretty excited because he's already had a conversation with one of our,
Would he let off some fireworks in the backyard to?
Yeah,
You may be known for that.
maybe,
it's more
I doubt
bang
it.
for a buck, so we can't really.
I doubt it.
complain.
And mainly because we have a law enforcement officer that's in his backyard.
Yeah.
Who would be responding very quickly to any of that event, but no, we should have a price pretty quick.
I think so.
Okay.
So
And Christmas,
we're working on that. Yeah, I did order. We was talking to Don today about some of the decorations, because we've had the decoration on the front of the building before for Christmas, but they were old and they were actually a little dangerous, so we had to ditch them. So we've ordered new lights for the tree out front, which will sufficiently cover the tree and make it look good. And we have another town business who is donating these for his cherry picker to install them. So we can get the tree covered from top to bottom,
potentially at no charge to us.
likely.
Well, the cherry picker.
cherry
one,
picker,
but We
yes.
still got to pay for the lights.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, but the labor and everything.
yeah.
Nice.
So
okay.
that will look good. So we're working on that. So. Yep. So the clerk's office will be closed tomorrow. I'll be here. We are closed on Friday. So they have a tough week
Mhm.
across the hall there. So, and then, yeah, right after our next meeting, we'll be closed again that week. So there some tight timelines for getting a few things done, but we'll be in good shape. So,
Oh, and pictures.
yeah.
You
So-
should schedule pictures, you know. Kurt,
We did get the,
expect you in like a bow tie, black tie and.
I think I'm set there.
But Bill he had a pretty good arrangement last time. We got all of the pictures in on
well,
time.
Well, I'm talking about the pictures
the-
out in the hallway.
for the plaques. So we got plaques for the hallway for each individual board member. So
What?
Oh, boy.
just when you leave, it's okay.
You mean I have to leave before I get my picture up in town hall?
Well, you can leave, but you won't get your picture in there. So when you're ready, I did send a message out about it before about we want to take pictures, but it's okay.
I
It's
guess it was
there's
pretty
no-
far down on
no
my list.
urgency.
Yeah, it's a
It's not an
misspelling.
urgent thing. This project started a long time ago, and it took like 7 months to get these little nameplate holders. Like they were just forever on back order, and Diana initially was just losing her mind because she just couldn't get these things. It was just to the point where I went down there, we fundamentally changed our plan, and then the next day they show up. So like she's like, I called to cancel the order and they showed up the next day. So they look very good. So we have a template now for some other things that we could do in the future, but yeah, so
They will look a lot better with your individual pictures
yes,
on them.
they would.
That's debatable.
Oh, come on. Don't be so
Uh,
self-deprecating.
No, I wasn't.
You are beautiful.
I wasn't
Well, you were
putting
talking about
myself
you. Zing. Chalk one up for the opposition.
I think that's everything else. Think we don't have anything other major.
You got any more
projects?
goodies?
No, I think we're in good shape.
Can we go
Good.
home now?
And
We got, I
the,
think you got a couple things in your old business you got to figure out, but
Dave Charnock has reached out to us and he's contemplating setting up a meeting. It's gonna wait till, some of this confusion with elections, everything else is underway. And he was also advised by at least a couple of members of his committee that it wouldn't be good to schedule this in deer season. You might not end up with anybody at this meeting.
for
But-
the memorial.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
memorial.
okay, yeah, okay, yep.
But there were two names that were on our original list that didn't get mailed, and I don't know whether it was because you didn't have an email for him or what. One was Jim Freeze,
I don't have any contact information for him.
none?
No.
Okay, well, I'll give you his number and then you can see if you can get it. So he must have, I think he does have one. And the other one was, let's think of his name. Andy McGrath.
Okay, yeah, I think he sent out a message like, this is what we're missing, and I didn't have anything for either of them, so
Well,
we can get it, that's great.
I'll give you the numbers and you can
Sure.
get it. But, they specifically contacted me, so I wouldn't want them left off the list. I mean, they
Nope,
want
no,
it to
that's
be on
fine,
the
it's,
committee.
it's
So anyway,
great to get moving on that.
we
so.
will be getting moving on it as soon as we have a meeting. Okay,
Anything else for
good.
me?
Anyone have any questions for Bill? Comments? Good job, Bill.
All right,
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Permit
Good night.
tracking done. I am going to recommend, and I don't know whether we need a motion on this or not, that this reviewing the social service appropriation policy for any changes be waylaid until well before next budget season, because there's no purpose in doing this now, because if we did any changes,
It'll be
we'd have to
tight.
notify all of the agencies, and that's just out of the question. So,
Okay.
and I don't want it to hang out here on old business forever, so unless there's objection, we'll just take it off
Let's take it off.
and we'll bring it up
Mhm.
in enough time so that we can have full discussion on it. Board to meet with Delinquent Tax Collector, who has been very patient, and he's here, and so Jim, discuss possible tax sales.
Oh, I get a feeling that there being a lack of two board members, we're gonna be at the same juncture we were the last time.
Well,
But I do have a few things I'd like to discuss.
Mm.
That won't require the entire board, I don't think.
there's one larger issue, and that's the issue of payment for legal services, and
Yep.
I don't know if we.
And that's
should
what
have
I
a
was-
discussion about that now, because we could certainly vote on that.
Mhm.
I've had,
Yep.
I've had a discussion with one board member, because I just happened to be talking to her about it, and other budget issues. But the town's policy has been that we do not pay the legal services for the delinquent tax collector.
Mhm.
And, Jim, I hate to tell you this, but I just don't think it's in the cards that we're gonna do that. So
Mhm.
that being the case, if the board agrees, then we would simply advise you to go ahead with the sales that your lawyer will.
Well, that was one
Agreed
of the
to.
things I want to approach. Well, so, it wouldn't matter, from this point of view, even if it appeared there was enough funds in the 15% of the delinquent tax, it could still go over. In which case,
The lawyer's fees could still go over the 15%.
yes.
Okay.
So, I was thinking that, to ask this question, which is, how about the town's attorney handle the tax sales? And would that be there's two parts to that for me. Is that any kind of a conflict of interest or a problem or something that doesn't work?
Well, no, it's, excuse me, it's the same issue, because we had to pay him
paying
just like
for
we
it,
have to
yeah.
pay anybody else.
Yeah.
So it's billable hours. We
And
just don't-
so
We haven't
how,
done it, so I don't know if the board wants to set a precedent to do it. If you
So
do, make a
my
motion to do
question-
it. If you don't, make a motion and we'll be done.
so my question on that is, are we saying that if the amount goes over the 15%, that the collector of delinquent taxes is responsible for paying the lawyer that amount?
Yep. That's what.
Okay, and is that, I haven't talked, I was gonna try and talk to VLCT about that. What is, hmm, those funds would have to come out of my 8%, obviously.
Or whatever, you know,
Well, where else can it come from?
well, your personal funds or whatever,
Yeah.
you know. It's just, you know, no,
So,
it's like you're
um,
running a business, you're a separately elected official. And your business is collecting the taxes under the laws of the state and the amounts that are payable.
Right, understand. I don't know, what I don't know on that is, am I required at some point to have to take it to tax sale, whether or not it does? And when was the amount of 15% of the taxes set by statute by the state?
I
And
have no clue.
I don't
But if
either.
you go in the green books and you go under that, there are notes down the bottom of the section that sets the 15%, and that'll tell you the date it was done.
Okay. I'll have to check that out, because I wonder if it's been 15% for the last 100 years, and you know, is that realistic? And so,
Yeah,
you know, that kind of thing.
legislature
So,
may not have been focusing on that, so.
yeah, understood.
You're
I-
wise to check.
Yeah, yeah, I guess it leaves me in a position where, you know, I'm willing to take that risk on the sense of something that appears the 15% will probably cover it. But on the side of something that obviously it won't cover it, and you're looking at, well, it could be that it, you know, let's say that the 15% is $300. Okay. I think there's some options there where the legal fees that were charged when I did the last group of tax sales, there were 3 of them in it. The lawyer's fees included more than just the research for the 40 years required for the title search. There was the preparation of all the documents and all of those things. With the samples I have from the previous ones, creating those documents wouldn't be an issue for me, and I'm assuming that there's no issue with me being the one that creates them.
You're asking me?
No, I'm
an
just saying.
attorney? Those have to stand scrutiny. They absolutely have to stand up to scrutiny.
Mhm.
So, the town can't take a risk that the documents somehow are faulty and the tax sale is set aside.
Okay,
You don't have professional liability insurance. Lawyers do. And so if there's a problem, the town can go after.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And are you saying that in reference to just the documentation that's turned in for the tax sale, or
You know,
for
I'm
the?
not Gonna parse out what you can and can't do. The,
Yeah, and that's my question.
okay.
So
okay.
basically, we're saying that, or implying that anything that has to do with the legal part of this I would have to have professional, as you said, the liability. And of course, I can't get that for that kind of thing because I don't have a license for that. So from that point of view, I will update my list because I still want approval or need to have approval from the board that when the actual tax sale occurs, that I put in on behalf of the town, an initial bid, which is the amount due. And that when, if nobody does bid anything for the property above that, then the town will purchase the property, run it through the 1 year wait period, and if it's not reclaimed, then they can put it up for auction or whatever to go.
Have we done this in the past? I don't ever recall doing this.
Yes, the last
time
ones.
we batched it, I think we were asked to, I remember being asked to do it.
To bid?
To bid.
Prove a
yeah.
bid?
Yeah, but let's just, so when are you? Refresh my memory.
Go ahead.
Are you retiring at the end of this year?
That is my plan, but due to the desire to change it from an elected position to an appointed position, in that requiring a vote in March, I have no issue with staying in the position
Okay,
until, what I don't want to be in the position, the time I don't want to be in the position is when the next warrant comes up.
right, okay,
So I want to be truly retired from this, and resign from it at least, before May 1st.
okay. Gotcha.
You know, that. You know, because, yeah, I did,
We didn't want to be in the position of having to appoint somebody to replace him for a short.
Yeah, no, I mean,
bout.
that makes sense, really.
Yeah.
And I do remember
Wanna
the
replace the
conversation.
position.
and I do apologize for the personnel committee, to the personnel committee, that some things have happened in my life that prevented me from making any meetings the last couple of weeks, so I never scheduled anything, so.
It's been pretty hectic around here too.
Yeah, that too, with the election and everything, I was hoping that we might be able to get a day in there somewhere just to start the conversation, but I guess we'll look at after probably beginning of December, very end of November, trying to get something together so that we can meet. Because I'm gonna be real busy playing nurse to my wife, who's goes in the same day as Mike does for her hip to be replaced. So, yeah. So, I will redo the list. It actually shortened itself up. One delinquent taxpayer paid up, so it was on that list. So that one's taken care of, and I'm just gonna have to hedge that, whatever ones I do ask, that you let me take the tax sale because you will allow me to do the first bid.
Well, let's see when it comes in.
Yeah, exactly. We'll go from there.
Okay.
So that's where we are. We're getting very close to under $90,000 in delinquent taxes still due.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
really good number for
yep.
any town would be proud to have that.
It's taken a few years to get there. Things have been crazy the last few years, and a lot of people have a lot of reasons not to be able to
Yeah.
get themselves caught up, but I keep them aware that they need to, and they're making efforts as best they can. So we're going from there.
Okay, good.
All right.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And, good luck to your wife.
Mhm.
and,
Yeah.
Oh, that's Jim. Yeah, that's Jim
Yeah.
is both here and there.
Oh, yeah.
Good luck, Ann.
Oh,
All right.
She might have stepped out for a wine. She didn't hear me.
Good.
Don't blame her.
all right.
I have a question, not for Jim. It's just
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
usually about this time, the auditors finish the audit and they meet with the finance committee. Has that occurred yet?
Well, they just barely got out of the clerk's office, so I imagine they're gonna be setting that up very quickly, but
Great.
I haven't heard yet, but there were
Yeah.
3 of them in there harassing her this week, so
Oh, not a fun time.
no.
Yep.
And okay, purchasing policy.
Oh, I would like to be in on that meeting if I could,
Okay.
please.
Board review discussion for draft undepreciated assets, for that one, printing annual report. We did the appointments. Met with
got it.
town listers, any other new business? We don't have any need for an executive session. Oh, just a question, Mary, if you know the answer. Can we do a quitclaim deed with any of these owners? For the value of the taxes owed?
A deed in lieu. I
And,
think,
and would that alleviate the need
The
for a
1-year
1-year waiting
wait.
period?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's
'Cause
worth
that's a simple
exploring.
way to handle those small ones and just get them off the books.
Yep.
And not have to deal with the tax collector and the delinquent.
Assuming it's clear who owns the property, and sometimes that's part of the problem. But I think that's a fair question and might be worth exploring.
Okay,
Yeah.
well. If you come up with that over some period of time, let us know. I'd appreciate that, knowing that. Anyways. I see that we have exhausted the agenda.
Move we
completely.
adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn and seconded. There's no discussion on this motion, so
Correct.
Does not
all
need to
those
be.
in favor. And I have to
Aye.
say yes, or you gotta stay here.
Yeah. No, I don't. That door's right there.
Oh, aye.
Yeah.